Welcome, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Eric. That's my pal,
I'm
Jake the
Dave.
Snake. Dave. What's with the snake, Dave? What's going on, buddy?
It's Glenn. It's just Glenn.
Oh, hello, Glenn.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Omniverse.
Why are you talking to him, weirdo?
Why not? You said you gave him a name. You got to acknowledge him.
He's a snake with a troll's head.
Welcome to the show, Glenn. Thank you for joining us for this is first incoming. Congratulations on being here for incoming for March of 2025. Everybody who's watching on YouTube, we really appreciate that. Please hit that rate and subscribe button, thumbs up. If you're listening on a different podcast platform, on your way to work, in your car, whatever it is you're doing, cleaning your house, we appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review.
I'm always highly amused by the things that you choose to what people might be doing. I love it. We haven't done cleaning a house yet.
And of course, most importantly, we would really appreciate it if you visited the omniversecomics.guide. It's your one-stop shop for podcasts, videos, reading orders, special features, collector item specials. All of our podcast catalog is there. And I say it often, Dave's reading orders when it comes to crossover events or different character timelines to keep yourself in track with what you want to be reading. Second to none. Best reading orders in the business. Omniversecomics.guide. Dave?
Hello.
It's already March, my friend. Are you you got a big list?
I've got a pretty hefty one, but I don't want to brag about it. How about you?
Pretty decent. It's manageable.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it works.
How many hands are required for your list? I failed, Mrs. Erickson. I'm sorry. Straight away. Right out the gate.
Thank Fred isn't even here yet. Yeah, March is already around the corner for stuff coming out. A lot of compendiums. I'm liking the era of compendiums that I feel are the wave of them.
Well,
do you think? Yeah.
No, go on. Ask you a question, man.
No, I was gonna say, do you think that that's gonna be that everything that gets an Omni might be getting a soft cover Omni kind of transition?
Well, it's interesting because that wasn't what I thought you were going to say. But I mean, I noticed with DC, they're doing some stuff in both. So like Dark Knight's Metal, which I wouldn't buy as an omnibus, they're releasing as a compendium, for an example. And I'd consider it because it's cheaper and I'm not proud. I wouldn't be proud to own that, you know? Whereas Image, if you look through the year, there's tons of stuff coming out in compendium format.
Yeah.
Loads, including some stuff that we recommended on our Most Wanted Image Compendium episode.
Somebody's listening to the Omniverse. Just wiping that dirt off our shoulder because we keep it nice and smooth, nice and clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what your hip-hop terms mean.
I'll say I'm patting myself
on
the back.
Hampshire.
Put it like that. There's you're right. A lot of the things that we're putting on our Most Wanted Omnis, compendiums, different from the different publishers are starting to, because I think we're not the only ones who want these books to be in different form. And I just recently bought 3 of them myself.
They're pretty.
So I'm a big I'm so excited to read them. I mean, the size of a phone book. Yeah. Remember phone books?
It's a lot of comics.
It's a lot of comics, man, and good bang for your buck, right?
And a complete story, eh?
That's the best part about it, because a lot of times there's the investment of, are you going to buy volume 2? No, everybody that gets into this game wants to have a complete set most of the time. And there's a commitment to certain series where it's like, I'm going to have to get that middle part that wasn't so good. But with these, cover to cover, this is a complete story, which I love.
Me 3.
And I just want to say, before we begin, our last episode, we did our top 5 cosmic recommendations.
We did indeed.
I recommended Sigil, which I really enjoyed, but I just want to give a caveat to anyone who took my recommendation that they might go out and buy it. There's no ending to it. So buyer beware. I'll just say that much.
So it's good ride, but no ending.
Yeah.
I'm much the same.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Well, let's begin this ride.
Disappointing ending.
Let's begin this ride for March incoming, and see what you got incoming. Marvel Man says he loves the snake. I love the snake too. Glenn?
Oh, that's a rumor starting there.
So Was it my turn first
It's
this
your
week?
turn, my dude.
Okay. There's one very, very obvious release, and it's the Ghost Machine Volume 1 of Red Coat, which creators, of course, we talk about them every week now on our show to get people to go back and listen to those interviews that we were very, very privileged, lucky to get with Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch,
Yeah.
the writer-artist combo for Red Coat. It didn't surprise me that I would enjoy this series when I was, reading through the releases of what was coming out from Ghost Machine,
But
but I didn't know it would be my favorite.
no, same.
Yeah,
I
and
think
I'm
it's
not
my
just saying
favorite
that.
too.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that because those are the two gentlemen we happen to have on the show, because I've interviewed a number of people from Ghost Machine from the past. But this book was really refreshing. It seemed like this time around, different series from Ghost Machine, they were like buddy stories. There was a companion going along the ride with whether it was Rook, whether it was
Oh, I haven't read Rook yet.
Geiger, and in this case Redcoat.
Yeah.
But what a tandem, right? What a buddy
Well, yeah.
sort of adventure this is. With
Unexpected and really unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, and the best thing for us to do, I would say, is to go and check it out. The premise is Simon Pure, I think
Yeah,
it
Simon
is,
Pure.
and it's like the ironic part of it is that he's far from being a
Yeah.
Puritan, right?
Uh,
So he's this guy who's been given that sort of Vandal Savage immortality curse some way, somehow. Don't want to spoil it, but there's this conspiracy that needs to be uncovered and unraveled with a cabal of different people that are part of the American Constitution. And as he lives through different ages and partners with different people, one of his main partners along the road of this adventure is none other than a young Albert Einstein.
mhm.
Check it out.
It's not remotely what you'd expect.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
good.
So good. And I think this is issues 1 to 7.
Nice. Excellent start. And you stole from me. You little
I figure that
trickster.
was.
Look at you. I
I
didn't
know.
trust that cheeky little face. Right. So, shall I hit you with my first?
Yes, let's go.
I'm going to hit you with my chunker now because this is a big one. It's 856 pages. So for a Marvel omnibus, it's not as big as some, but it's big to me because this is the weight has been big. Like the physical weight might not be huge, but we've been waiting years for this book. This is Daredevil by Andersenti, John Romita Jr.
Mm.
Omnibus Volume 1. Oh, why haven't we had this already? It's funny because like Marvel seem to be pumping out a lot of omnis or have been for a while. That they just left me kind of going, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing like a specific month in 1965 or something like that? It just seems weird. Or like, let's do a Dark Phoenix Volume 2. Why? I don't know who's buying them, but good luck to them. For me, though, this is a rarity because I don't generally buy Marvel Omnis anymore because I feel like I've kind of got most of what I want. Most, but not everything. And this is one of the things. So it's Andersenti's run. So it's Daredevil 234 to 266 and Punisher number 10. I don't think Nascenti's the writer straight away, and I meant to check this beforehand, but I just ran out of time. But it follows on immediately from Born Again. So if you get
Right.
Born Again or you have Born Again in the Frank Miller Companion Omnibus, this is the stuff that continues on from there. It's a strange beginning, and there are some weird issues at the start. And I think part of that comes from like switches in creative teams, or maybe Andersenti trying to kind of find her feet with the character. But there's a 2-part Wolverine story with art by Rick Leonardi, which, if I remember rightly, is issues 248 and 249. That's really good fun. That's got Bushwhacker in it. Great name. And I believe 250 is when John Romita Jr. starts on the book. And it's great.
I always hear very good things, like people who are Daredevil fans, they stick around for like the fact that this is uh, going in a different direction than what Frank Miller did. It didn't for a lot of people. Like this is their favorite era of Daredevil. It's a celebrated run. So it's like you said, I'm surprised that they hadn't put this out before, especially because of Romita Jr. And I haven't read any of this.
No?
Like not a lick of it. No. So
You're in for a
might be
treat.
interesting. So it's you would recommend it.
Highly recommend it. Be prepared because towards the end it goes into Inferno. It does get a bit weird, but everything got weird during Inferno. After
Right.
that, for Volume 2, was when I'd started reading Daredevil as a kid, when I was 12, sorry. And I was really confused by it because it was like no other title of the Marvel books I picked up. It was just very much its own thing, quite dark, one-shot stories, and what the hell is going on? But I grew to love it. I grew to love Daredevil quite quickly. But these stories take you all the way through events like Fall of the Mutants, Inferno. We've got the Typhoid Mary saga. The reason why there's a Punisher issue in there as well. So Daredevil 257 is told from Daredevil's perspective, and Punisher issue 10, with art by Will Spataccio, is told from the Punisher's perspective. So the two stories kind of cross over but can be read separately. But it's just quite an interesting way to do. I like it when stories do that. It's quite good fun. And it really ups the ante again eventually, of course, with the Kingpin as the main villain, because he doesn't have a right-hand person as a hit person anymore, because it was Bullseye, Hitman. But Typhoid takes that role in this one, and it's a very different dynamic, because you didn't see Daredevil get off with Bullseye very often.
No, not too often. Once or twice, but
maybe off panel.
Yeah, that one time. No, that's very cool. It's always exciting when, like this past year, they put out that Mark Gruenwald Captain America. Now they're putting out this of the same sort of time, this era of Daredevil with Ann Nocenti and John Romita. And I know Daredevil is just one of those cult characters where he's got a fandom that people stick with and they love it. Even the ups and downs, they stick with the guy.
Yeah. For the most part, though, it's generally ups. And the other part of it is that even though, I mean, I listed 2 or 3 crossovers in there, but you can read those despite the crossover event itself. Daredevil normally sits kind of on its own.
Yeah.
For the most part. Even though he might cross over into Punisher, he might, they might do a bit of that occasionally, but it's not that often. So when they did, I think years later, like Shadowland, it just felt a bit un-Daredevil to have in the center of a massive crossover event. And I think part of that's the appeal, and just constantly, the constant torment. He's one of those characters, I think, where you can look at him and go, thank I'm not Matt Murdock. I don't care Honestly. Who you get lucky with. I'm so glad I'm not you.
Right? So true. He just gets the shit kicked out of him too often. His heart broken very frequently, and is a lawyer that does things pro bono. Like he's not even making a lot of money doing what he's doing.
And when does he sleep?
Never. Exactly. My number 2, it's a repeat. I mentioned it in our last episode, and it is the Star Wars: The Old Republic, Volume 1, John Jackson Miller. Brian Ching is one of the artists on it, amongst others. It's from the Dark Horse era of Star Wars stories. I know it's a repeat, back to back, but it is one that
you're right.
I've read and I really, really enjoy. It just so happened, I guess serendipitously, I'm like, I want to pick this story. And then I saw it's also coming on an incoming. I said, screw it. I'm going to double down on it. I won't go too much detail about it because we did mention it in the Cosmic, but it is coming out in March. It's about 55, 56 issues looking back on what's included in it. So it is hefty. You're getting a lot of reading material, but it is a one and done kind of story. You're not bound to having to pick up a bunch of other things unless you liked that universe, the Dark Horse Star Wars era, which again, I'll repeat it, it's not in continuity with the Disney whole new Lucasfilms, whatever they're doing, but who cares?
It was at the time.
It was at the time. And it is really, really good stuff. You got like the full era of the Jedi in full power. There's a murder conspiracy that this Jedi Padawan, they planted it on him, so he's a fugitive running through the universe trying to escape, but in the process becomes an adventurer. And the Mandalorians and the Jedi at war with each other. Check it out. It's wicked.
Nice.
55 issues worth of comics.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's. I'm happy that it's back out. And John Jackson Miller also has recently put out a prose novel of Batman, like the 1989 Batman the movie universe.
Oh.
It's a direct sequel to the movie, but it's in a novel. So he's kind of back in the the zeitgeist of fan.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's cool that they're putting this back out there as well. It's deserving, definitely deserving.
Nice. Okay.
Your number 2.
My number 2 is by Brian Michael Bendis. What do you think it is? No, it's not that. It's Hellspawn Complete Collection. This is a paperback, 424 pages, issues 1 to 16. You've also got writing from Steve Niles on it, who's known for 30 Days of Night, and art by Ashley Wood and Ben Templesmith. I mean, this is going to be a nasty book. I think this got quite a lot of praise at the time when it came out, alongside Sam and Twitch, because I think he was doing them about the same time.
Mm.
And Ashley Wood did a lot of the covers for Sam and Twitch. His old school kind of crime based, singular character focused stuff was what got him noticed initially. Even though he was known later for doing these big team books and lots of people all saying Jewish phrases, all of them, doesn't matter what their backgrounds were.
It's true.
But I never cared. I just loved his writing, man, on all those titles. I didn't care. But yeah, he was known at the time for more of his indie stuff and for working on the kind of Spawn sub-universe at Image. So yeah, it's not quite a compendium, but it is chunky enough, 424 pages, paperback. I know very little about it. I think it runs alongside the Spawn series. I don't even know. I don't really care. I just want to read Bendis on Spawn. It's been years since I've read about this supposedly being fantastic, and I've never read it.
Yeah.
While I've read a lot of Bendis' earlier stuff, this is one of the gaps, and that's why I want it. And Ashley Wood's art, please.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, there's sometimes you go blind on buying a book because of the reputation of the writer, the era that it was. Like you said, this is just a blind spot for me. I got to fill that in.
Yeah.
But it's exciting that it's an exciting time for collectors where there's a lot of things that are. It's like, I can't believe they're doing that. Or finally, there's nothing that is off the table.
No, it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels like it's been a long wait. But like when you have things like Marvel versus DC Omnibus in your hands, it feels like it's open. Everything's fair game now.
All right, I'm at number 3 now.
Okay.
Here we go. This is one that was released years ago as just like a hardcover, but now it's got the omnibus. I was going to say Omniverse. The omnibus stamp on the spine. It is X-Men Fatal Attractions. That's coming out March 18th. It's during a pretty key time in the team's history. Some key moments take place in this story. I particularly like one of the, I hope we get to talk about it somewhere down the line in a more creator-specific episode, but there's, I think, included in this, the Peter David X Factor issue where Doc Samson talks to the team.
Oh, yeah, I think it is in this collection, yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. Character moments throughout this book. At the time of Uncanny X-Men 300, so anniversary sort of setting, big storytelling taking place. The infamous, famous, classic, I don't know what you would want to call it, X-Men 25 moment with the showdown is included in this.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, we've talked about it before, but there's plenty of things that we don't want to spoil. It's a fun read. The reason I enjoy this story so much is because it's one of the first times where when I read it was during the lockdown, and it gave me an opportunity to sit, and I had the time now on my hands to read like a big long form story. And Fatal Attractions was one of those books that I had on my shelf for years. I said, let me actually try to read this cover to cover. And I enjoyed the way it was laid out and the fact that I was just invested in these characters in this story, and the crossover stuff, they included it. And I'm like, I like reading 25 issues of, or whatever is included, of just these characters for a bit. Yeah, it is a lot. It's about 800 pages and change. But
yeah,
the X family at the time was so vast. Like, there were so many characters, so many things happening, so many subplots that were taking place. And this follows the Chris Claremont era. He's no longer the main writer at this time. So you're getting some very 90s fresh ideas, big plot lines. But yeah, X-Men, Fatal Attractions. Fatal Attractions, March 18th.
Okay.
Where is this for you on in your X-Men?
I sold it because I really I'm not a fan.
Okay, I was interested.
The X Factor issues are great, and there's 87 to 92 are included, and I love them. And they've got the Joe Quesada art and everything. And the X-Force issue, I think, is really good fun. The Wolverine issue is really good. There's that continuity problem between X-Men 25 and 75 that I've mentioned before. Most people don't ever seem to have noticed it, but it's bothered me since I read it when it came out. And there's just some odd issues in there. There's some nice issues in there, but overall, I decided to get rid of it because it just doesn't work for me.
Doesn't do it for you. Fair enough. But I think that's the the beauty of we got two different perspectives that we both read it, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
For me, this was I guess that comfort comics, that nostalgic reading of at the right time. It put me on to reading omnibuses almost as my main way of reading comics. So I always have like a soft spot for this, and it's got some classic stuff in it. If you're an X-Men fan,
it genuinely has.
Yeah,
there is some good stuff in it.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying that
Check it
to
out.
appease you.
Yeah, no, I don't think you are, because you said it yourself.
Yeah.
You mentioned a bunch of issues that you do really like in here. So
yeah.
Yes, X-Men, March 18th.
So new to the Omniverse. First up, character reading orders. We've got Resident Alien, which covers the Dark Horse series from 2011 to present. That's just about to jump on Netflix, at least in the UK. Events and crossovers from Marvel. We've got Behold Galactus from 1982 to 83. The Brood Saga, 1982 to 83, also introduces the New Mutants. War to End All Skrulls has also been added. From DC, Crisis on Earth Prime from 1982. Returning Reflections starring Batman from 1985, going up against some Flash foes. The Hateful from 2000, featuring Nightwing and the Birds of Prey, and that leads into The Hunt for Oracle from 2000, which is a Nightwing Birds of Prey event. Podcast and video, we've got our top 20 comic book collector editions from 2024, part 2, our top 10 favourites of the year. Incoming collector editions from February, top 10 cosmic comics, covering loads of cosmic and space-based sagas from various different publishers, and finally, collector's item special, with EPHK, big favourite of mine. He's listing 5 of his favourite books from his own personal collection that he's recommending. It was great to have him on. Jump on omniversecomics.guide to find out what's new to the Omniverse, or just listen now. Guide.
Dave, you're number 3 for incoming?
I am number 3.
Let's do it. It's Glenn. Glenn's choking you.
Glenn's making me belch again. Glenn,
yeah.
Stop it. What have I told you? My number 3 is El Fuego. Yeah, you know I like my random stuff. This is from Oni Press. It's from David Rubin, who was the artist on the second series of Rumble. He worked with Matt Kent on Ether for Dark Horse as well. He's done some weird stuff. I'm going to read the thing. From visionary storyteller David Rubin, who's done Cosmic Detective and The Hero. I didn't mention those. Naughty boy. El Fuego is a psychological, philosophical, and geographical odyssey through the last remaining days of planet Earth. It's the story of one particular inhabitant who must decide how much more of himself to give to the greater good before truly finding peace within. It continues, but I'm not going to spoil it for me. But yeah, we got 256 pages in a hardcover from Oni Press. I like David Rubin's stuff. It's often very strange, which, yeah, thank you. You are what you read. I don't really 100% know what I'm going to get from it.
Sometimes that's all. The journey is part of the enjoyment, right? Like,
yeah, he's one of those creators, I think, where when he does his own stuff, he gives you something to come back to. So I do like to have books that I can read, leave for a bit, and go, I'm ready now to give that another go. I'm just going to do it again and just escape for a bit. But yeah, it just sounds like there's some, well, probably would have been suitable for last week's Cosmic recommendations by the sound of things. I'm just curious to see what he's got.
Okay, my number 4?
Yeah.
What can I steal from Dave then? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Let's go Green Arrow, Archer's Quest from Kevin Smith, Phil Hester, and Judd Winnick is being released. It collects issues 1 to 39 from Green Arrow when he is essentially resurrected. This was Kevin Smith's kind of, I wouldn't say his breakout. I'm not sure if he worked on Daredevil first
did do Daredevil first, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I always hear him tell the story of how he had a plan of how to bring Green Arrow back if DC ever wanted to do it. So this is his opportunity to do it. I know a lot of people hold this series up in high regard. I'm a Green Arrow fan, just as a character. I enjoy reading it. I've read Archer's Quest. I think it's issues 1 to 8 or the first the Kevin Smith portion. I've read most of it, but I don't remember it well enough to say I loved it. But it's very cool to see Omnis that haven't been put out yet to get their time to shine finally after being collected in different formats or not even being getting a complete series collected of it to be able to read the whole thing unless you had it in single issue. So this is cool that I don't know if this is listed as a volume 1
Yeah,
but it does. So far, DC's been good about lately trying to complete their whatever it is that they've started to run on in a collected format. So hopefully we get a full Green Arrow series collected here. But this is issues 1 to 39. I think a crossover with the Green Lantern is included, which I think this is still before Hal Jordan comes back, but I could be wrong. I don't
it
know
is. Yeah,
the
you're
years that
right.
this. So it would probably be Kyle Rayner would
Yes.
be the Green Lantern of the time. So interesting time at DC, just before that big Infinite Crisis. Everything is bigger than ever before. You got the Sinestro Corps War. This is just before that time, which is good stuff. I'm reading some stuff from this era now, and I'm enjoying that era of DC. So here's to Green Arrow. Hopefully this omnibus finds its audience and people love what's included in it. I'm not sure if I'm
Well,
getting it just yet, but it's on the list.
oh no, it's definitely on my list, for sure. I don't know. I like the kind of. I mean, let's face it. Even though he had his own TV series, he's still kind of B-listy, Green Arrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's what I like about what they're doing now. Is they're still, like you say, they're giving those B-list and C-list characters their due and collecting them up. That crossover is with Kyle. It's called Black Circle, and it's a 6-parter.
Very cool.
But it looks like, yeah, it's a volume 1. It's 1,128 pages. I mean, we're gonna get. I don't know if that. I think that might be 2 volumes. Can't remember.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure of how long this ran for, but I know that it's been reformatted in a number of styles. I think there might even be an absolute of
Yeah,
this.
they did the absolute, and then they did the second story arc in deluxe, and then
Yes.
that was it. So
Yeah.
it was a bit weird. Although this series goes on to issue 75, so maybe we'll get 3 Omnis out of it. No,
I think you could get
you can
two.
do it in
I think
2.
two is just right. You get a nice 2 volume set of Green
Yes,
Arrow
2.
during a key moment in the character's history, a fresh sort of restart, a good jumping on point as well. And comic book fan, director, fanboy himself, Kevin Smith is getting his opportunity to spread his wings and tell a little bit long form. So thumbs up to DC for putting this out there. Very cool.
Thanks, DC. I get
All
very
right.
happy when I see listings for these kind of books. Like, really, really, it's just
Me too.
old school DC is really exciting me at the moment because I never
Yeah.
got to read it when I was younger, and I always felt like I was the kid at the window breathing heavily on there and drawing a little sad face on the condensation. Let me in.
All right, number 4.
Okay, my number 4 won't be a surprise, or maybe it will. Don't know. You tell me. This was on our most wanted Marvel Omnis last year, but I didn't know what to call it, and I didn't know how far back to go. But it looks as if it's a volume 1, and it's going to have a good few volumes, if probably 3. Don't know. Doctor Strange, Master of the Mystic Arts Omnibus, Volume 1. It's got Steve Englehart, Marv Wolfman, Gardner Fox. It's got a number of creators on it. Jim Starlin, I think, does some stuff in this as well. And I believe... Oh, I don't know if we get to Chris Claremont yet. That might be the next book. But you've got issues 3 to 14 of Marvel Premiere, which kind of launched his new ongoing that then bled into the 1974 relaunch of Doctor Strange. You got 22 issues of that. Annual number 1 and the Tomb of Dracula tie-in from their crossover, which I think was called the Tomb of Doctor Strange, and I think that's what I called it when I covered it on the Marvel Comics Guide. Do you remember that?
I remember that. I remember that guy.
It earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want this run of Doctor Strange. I want the 70s to 80s run of Doctor Strange.
Right.
I
I was
don't
just
know
about to ask what era is this taking place in? But you said Steve Englehart, so I kind of got an
Steve
idea.
Englehart,
But that's
Wolfman. But eventually, I think in Volume 2 you'll get Claremont and Roger Stern and people. So different writers seem to just kind of chop in and pick up. It's almost like no one knows what to do with him consistently. So they go, "I've done my bit. Let me come up with an idea. Do you want to take it for a while?" Because he is.
how long did this
character.
this series run for?
I think it ran to about 81 issues, which was about mid 80s.
Interesting. Yeah, because I see
So
a
you
lot
get
of
Paul
the
Smith on there by that time, and Brett Blevins, people like that doing the art.
and it has never been collected before.
Only sporadic bits.
Huh. Very cool. Similar to that Green Arrow feeling of finally they're putting that series out there, that there is a a long history of people who, or a portion of this character's history that matters to a lot of fans of the character. Why aren't you
Yeah.
putting it out there for them?
Yeah, bit weird, right? But
Yeah.
it's funny because I used to think back in the day I don't want to read anything before the 80s because I feel like 70s stuff is probably not really for me. But the older I've gotten, the more I've wanted to go back and read 70s stuff from both Marvel and DC. Mostly certain characters. For Marvel, Strange is one of those characters where I want to go back and read the really trippy stuff and appreciate it on a
Yeah.
completely different level.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of finding myself in the same boat with Silver Surfer. I've read a little bit of Doctor Strange, which is a character I would have never cared to try before. But and then conversely, this year, I mean, later down the road, we're getting some stuff on the DC side where you're getting like their version of Doctor Strange. Doctor Fate is getting
Yeah,
finally a little bit of
yeah.
shine. So it's cool to see these sort of esoteric style characters that have they're consequential. Like they're in the stories that throughout the history of Marvel, they're pretty consequential characters. So it's
Oh
cool
yeah.
that they're getting proper shine. Yeah.
What's funny as well is because he's in Defenders as well at the same time, so
Oh,
he kind of
right.
had two titles going. And I
Right.
just looked
Right.
at the
Right. Right.
page count, and it's 776 pages, which is quite low, I think. So this might be
Yeah.
one of those ones where they're doing it thinner and it's 3 volumes.
They're milking it. Yeah.
Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
but
not a fan of that, but it's coming out. It's just cool. Okay. Wrapping it up, my number 5. Where do I go? I'm gonna go with something that's a blind buy for me. It would be John Layman's Chew Compendium or Numnibus.
oh yeah, Tune Omnibus, that was it. I was trying to remember as well what they called it.
I've never read this series. I've always seen it on the shelves, and whenever I go into the, image section of the store, a lot of people are fans of it who are big fans of it. But reading it today, and of course seeing a compendium or an omnibus like collection of images, this collects 1,488 pages. It's 60 issues of the best-selling
That's
Harvey
big.
multiple Eisner award-winning series. Yeah, it's about cops, crooks, cooks, cannibals, and clairvoyants in a single massive volume. I like the alliteration. Just that in itself is fun. So Detective Chew is a detective with a secret, a weird secret. Tony Chew is a Cybopathic, which means he gets psychic impressions from whatever he eats. It also means he's a hell of a detective as long as he doesn't mind nibbling on the corpse of a murder victim to figure out who done it and why. I read iZombie last year, which is not the same, but somewhat of a similar premise,
Uh-huh.
where the main character has to stay alive by being a zombie by eating the brains of people.
Yeah.
But in this case, they would get memories. Similar to what the premise is here. I kind of like that premise, but he's a detective in this case. And complete series, front to back, full story, the full vision between the artist and the writer, and you get it all in
One
one nice chunk to
very,
chew on.
very big chunk to chew on. Nice,
There you go,
nice
pun
pun.
intended. We intend that pun.
Intend that pun.
Yeah, have you read any of this?
I read the first 6 or 12 issues and then fell off. I think that was around the time I was dipping into lots of different things and kind of going, it's okay, but I want to
Okay.
try that one more. So I'm tempted, especially at that size and that price.
People who've read it say good things about it, but sometimes these well-known image books within the comic community, there isn't a lot of place for you to get like a fair review as well. So it's good to sometimes bring up these things and try to throw them into the chats and see what everyone else has thought about it, people who've read it. So I want to give this a shot. Sounds good.
Cool.
Round us out, Dave.
I'm going to
Bring
round
it
this
home.
out. So I haven't done a DC one this month, and I'm not going to, surprisingly. I'm going to go with Kai Louie. Kai Louie? I don't even know how you pronounce it. Kai Louie. It's KY, and sometimes we all need a bit of KY. KYLOOE.
Looe.
It's 384 pages, paperback from Dark Horse, and I believe it's a French comic.
Yes. I don't see the English edition here, but continue.
No, but I had to look earlier. I only accidentally found out it's by someone called Little Thunder, who I know nothing about. So this is all going to be very, very new to me. But there were some sample pages, and I thought this looks
Yes.
fantastically
Wow.
strange and
Yes, it
different,
does.
and very much like El Fuego. Interestingly, there's a lot of space stuff mixed with very trippy space stuff mixed with Earthbound, very normal stuff. I'm going to read the blurb.
Yes.
In fact, I might just do the little mini blurb and stop at that. Step into the intimate, touching, and emotional dream world of Kailui. Hong Kong artist Little Thunder brings imagination to life with beauty, joy, and wonder through surreal art and sensual colours in this collection of 3 stories. So it's kind of like a little mini anthology. Yeah.
Available for the first time in English.
Available first time
Very
in
cool.
English. Good spot. Jump on something, maybe Dark Horse's site. Yeah, avoid the Bezos, and take a look at some of the art on this book. It looks lovely, and 384 pages. It's that kind of just enough a chunker that makes me happy. I like that kind of.
Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, it's a perfect for the price point, for the amount of page counts, just right. Do you mind if I read the blurb about it, because it
Oh, go
seems
for it.
very interesting? Yeah. So a typical teenager finds growing up is rough. One day she cuts class to buy the new album from her favorite band, and she sees a strange, mysterious, yet familiar creature on the cover. It is Kailui, her old friend. He's back, he's real, and he'll do anything to protect her. Then an awkward girl makes an impression on a popular teen, and they begin to connect beyond their peer statuses. So I won't go further because it's breaking down all these different parts of, I guess, the anthology. But what got me was, have you ever dreamed of escaping to return to the warm, carefree moments of childhood? And I think everybody kind of lives their life hoping to do that one day.
Well, that's why we read comics to a large degree.
Exactly. So it just completely captured me by that elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, all the time, every day. That's all I ever want to do. So I'll probably put this on my list. And the art on the sample is very cool. Very, very cool.
So Meat Trunks says it was published in France, but the author Little Thunder is from Hong Kong. So it's it's Hong Kongese comics. Does that mean so? It's not manga. It's because it's not black and white or anything. So it's full color and very, very bright and bold. Manga mix. Are you guys making stuff up?
Hong Kongese comics. Manga
so
mix.
are.
Yeah, that's a good catchphrase. I like it.
Was there anything else that didn't quite make your list that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, there's a couple things that will probably be on both of our lists. So there's Justice League New 52 Book 2. I'm a big fan of that Justice League series. I like that they're putting them out in these, they're not necessarily omnis, but they're these kind of epic collection size, 500 pages worth of comics, which is really cool. And this is the second volume, which looks like, it doesn't give on the website where I got my information the issues collected, but it does look like it goes into the Trinity War aspect just before we get to, or maybe even into Forever Evil. East of West Compendium. I tried giving this series a chance in the past because people swore by it. Jonathan Hickman, and it's just greatest thing ever. So I tried. It's a beautiful book. Nick Dragotta, I think, is the artist.
That's right.
But I felt like I wasn't getting it at the time. But it's coming out in a compendium, and I feel like maybe sitting through it all the way through with no interruptions, I might find myself immersed in the world a little bit more.
Cool.
So those are the two of the ones that I wanted to mention. How about yourself?
I'm only going to mention a couple. There's Mystic U, Freshman Year Enchantments, and Zatanna from DC. They both Zatanna Bring Down the House from DC. So they're both Zatanna comics, and they immediately got my interest. Also, the Doom Patrol Silver Age omnibus as well. I'm loving the Silver and Bronze Age DC stuff, even if it's just to flick through the pages. But that one is more complete than the previous version. So the previous one looked like it was going to be a 2-volume set, and then the second volume was a paperback. But this is just collecting all the Silver Age Doom Patrol. The Holy Roller from Image Comics, which is written by Rick Remender and Andy Samberg from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Lonely Island. How random is that?
Cool.
Only other two I wanted to mention were Beta Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson, Argent Star. I was hoping they'd deluxe it, but it's coming out as a paperback. Finally, Ultimate Spider-Man Epic Collection Learning Curve, which begins the great Ultimate Spider-Man run by Brian Michael Bendis. So it's the first chunk of that. But also jump on the website and don't forget to give us a thumbs up and follow us here on YouTube or whatever podcast platform you're currently listening to.
I love it. Good job. You did better than I do. Omniversecomics.guide.
Flirt.
There you go. Everybody, thank you for tuning in with us on Twitch, and we will be back next week for another episode. Dave?
What's that, Glenn?
Glenn?
Oh, Glenn says, bye-bye. Cheers for watching, my dudes.
Bye-bye for now.
And I quote,
bye-bye, everybody.